Well, hi, my name's Rob Abbott. I'm the pastor of Simcoe Side Life Point Church, and I just want to welcome you to Church at Home. Hey, thanks for giving us your time this morning. I'm not sure whether you're watching with family, friends, maybe you're on your own. What I do assume is that if you're watching this, you have a spiritual interest. You want to understand more spiritually who you're created to be in relationship to the God of the universe. So today, we're going to talk about this concept called grace. So at its core, grace is the unmerited and unconditional gift of God's love that you can't earn and you don't deserve. None of us do, but grace enables us to respond to God the Father. Grace enfolds us into his family. It allows us to be there. Grace also changes us. And that's the goal, for our lives to be transformed. That's the good news, that you can have a new life in Jesus. So I want to say thanks for being here. I pray that something in this video will connect with you. It will move you closer to your next step. So I will see you at the end of the video.
Never thought I'd be here having this conversation. Totally unqualified if you assess my previous station in life. I thought I knew everything. I thought I was bright. Turns out I was a fool who mistook blindness for sight, wrong for right. So many years I walked, not knowing the way. So many times I talked, not knowing what to say. But those days have passed away, 'cause grace came and chose to stay. How would I describe grace? It's like trying to explain salty to someone without taste, rain on my face to someone in a desert, or true love to a heart that's only ever been hurt. It's a challenge. He's so good to me, it's honestly hard to believe. Even when I'm against him, he's still for me. I can't shake his favor, no matter what I do. Even if I'm a liar, he remains true, speaks to me out of the blue. Even when I'm not praying, calls me up to talk, even when I'm not saying anything to him. Wants to be my friend, and when we do connect, where does he begin? Not with my mess or what I've done wrong. He calls me by my name and tells me that I'm strong, even if I've just been weak. Never feel any shame from him when he speaks. Does he deal with my sin? Yeah, but the forecast is never bleak. Even if I'm fresh from sin's grip, he reminds me who he is and tells me not to trip. He's got this. He's got things under control, and he's got me. The cross is greater than my faults. Jesus bigger than my disease, and he'll never leave. Sure, I could run, but where would I hide? His presence pursues me like I was a runaway bride, calling out to me on the inside. Yo, man, have you lost your mind? Do you not remember the covenant that binds us together? No matter the weather, hard times are better. You see, I made promises to you, and I'm faithful to the last letter. I love you, and I like you. That's his refrain. Those words break in and mingle with my pain, and I am changed. Tears like rain pouring down, 'cause the cloud that surrounds me is love. So pure and so true, completely accepted. Not a thing I can do but receive it. I wish I could pay him back somehow, but he won't let me. He didn't save me to stay in chains. He loved me to set me free, to make me complete. Give and take is the love of this world, but grace is a one-way street. Grace is a one-way street.
If you tried to describe what God is like, it could be difficult or daunting. But when the people who wrote the Bible pondered the mystery of God, they consistently describe God's character in this way: compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, overflowing with loyal love and faithfulness. We're going to look at the second key word in this statement, gracious. The Hebrew word is chanun, which is related to the Hebrew noun chen. This word, chen, is often translated as grace or favor, and if you study how this word is used throughout the Bible, you find a fascinating story. One meaning of chen is delightful or favorable. In the Psalms, a skilled poet is said to have lips of chen, That is, he can craft beautiful words that bring delight. Or a dazzling piece of jewelry is an ornament of chen. It attracts attention and favor. This is why chen is often the word used to describe a gift given with delight or favor. In these cases, chen could be translated as grace. Like in the story of Esther, who approaches the king of Persia to ask that she and her people be spared from death. She calls this a request for chen. And because the king delights in Esther, he favors her and grants her wish. So, giving a gift of favor is chen because it's motivated by delight. And the most extreme kind of chen is showing favor to someone who should get what they deserve, not a generous gift. Like Jacob, who cheated his brother Esau, ran away, and then after 20 years wants to come back and make things right. So he comes to Esau asking, "May I find chen in your eyes?" Jacob isn't asking for what is fair, but for favor. And surprisingly, that's what Esau gives him. He chooses to delight in his brother Jacob and show him grace that he doesn't deserve. Now, chen requires a generous spirit, which people sometimes have. But in the Bible, the one who shows more chen than anyone else is God. Like when God rescued the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt, and they quickly betray him by giving their allegiance to a golden idol as their God. But then, Moses steps in and asks God to consider giving a gift that they don't deserve. And God says yes, by showing the ultimate act of chen, forgiveness and a promise to be with these people. This character trait of God is so reliable that over 40 times in the book of Psalms, people cry out for God's chen when they're sick or in danger or when the Israelites are in exile. And the biblical prophets like Isaiah looked back to God's chen in the past and boldly declared that God will one day show chen to his people by delivering them and all creation from death and ruin. Now, when we turn to the authors of the New Testament, they describe God's chen with the Greek word charis, which means gracious gift. Like when we're introduced to Jesus in the Gospel of John, we're told that Jesus is God's glorious charis become human, sent into a world of people trapped in darkness and death. Because according to the Apostle Paul, we're like the living dead. God has handed humanity over to the destructive consequences of our selfish decisions. But, Paul says, God is rich in mercy, and by his charis, he's rescued us. He's talking about how Jesus' life, death, and resurrection are offered to us as a generous gift of life that is more powerful than death. And as with any gift, all one has to do is receive it. So, now you can see why the biblical authors talk so much about this description of God's character throughout the Bible. When people are willing to own their failures and ask God for chen, he has a consistent and generous response. God gives the gift of himself, his life, and his love. And this is what it means that God is gracious.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils and snares, we have already come. Oh, 'twas grace that brought us safe thus far, and grace will lead us home. When we've been healed bright shining as the sun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but now I see.
Amazing grace. So when you're willing to own your own failures and when you're willing to ask God for chen, right, grace, he's got a consistent and generous response. God always gives himself, the gift of him to you, his life, his love. And like many of you, I've been on this lifelong quest to understand this riddle called grace. I've seen it evidenced many times in the lives of people that I've been around, my own personal life, and I'm convinced that each one of us need to more fully understand and embrace grace. So why don't you start the conversation by asking whomever you're watching this video with, what's so amazing about grace in your life? But before we go and do that, I want to invite you next Sunday, July 17th, we're doing what we call Serve Sunday. We're going to serve the community. So maybe we're going to build a garden, a community garden. Maybe we're going to paint some walls. Maybe we're just going to hand out sweets downtown Aurelia. We're not sure yet. You can find out by asking the friend that you came with. Regardless of, consider yourself invited. So if you want to know more, just call our office. You can find the information on our website, simcoeside.com. God's grace be what you experience this coming week. I can't wait to meet you in person.